It's the race to the finish, and so much is at stake in these midterm elections. And here to talk about why they believe young people will make the right choice on Tuesday, Turning Point USA's Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens. They both join me now. Guys, thanks for being with us. I know that you guys have been crisscrossing the country also, trying to get the vote out. Let's talk about the youth vote. All indications are that young people generally don't vote in the midterms. Is that the case? Charlie?
Well, you know, usually youth turnout in the midterms are around 40 to 45%, but all indications show that we're going to have some spiked enthusiasm. Candace Owens and I have been barnstorming the country, going to college campuses through our Turning Point USA campus tour. And I can tell you there are more young people than ever that are interested and supportive of this president's agenda. As Candace and I always say, there are some record highs in this administration, but there's also some record lows. Lowest ever black unemployment, lowest ever Hispanic unemployment, and the lowest youth unemployment in 60 years. So for our own generation's well-being, better pull that Republican lever come up on Tuesday.
All right, and Candace, what are you seeing as you go around the country as it relates to young people and their voting? Are they going to come out?
Look, they are going to come out because they are tremendously enthusiastic. And look, there almost seems to be a tacit understanding that the stakes are higher this time around. We are deciding between two very disparate viewpoints of what America should be. It's either going to be run by the left, who believes in mob rules, or, you know, feminism, radicalized feminism, just believe women, chasing down congressmen and chasing conservative out of restaurants, or we're going to vote for the founding principles and the Constitution and what our founding fathers laid out for this country. So they understand the stakes are higher this time around. I really think you're going to see a high voter turnout in terms of the youth.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask both of you. You know, the polls are indicating that, you know, first they said there was going to be a blue wave, and now they say they're very confident that the Democrats are going to win. I mean, do you feel that those polls are accurate? Charlie, I'll start with you.
No, and Candace and I, you know, we're looking at this record turnout of early voting for Republicans in states like Arizona and states like Florida and states like Michigan. Then we look at these national polls, we just don't see the continuity there. And remember, back in 2016, the polls were so terribly wrong. And I believe that the polls are being used as suppression tools to try to keep the Republican base at home, to try to make it seem as if the Republican base we don't have a chance to win these elections. And so the message for every Republican voter out there right now and every Trump supporter, vote like it's a general election. Vote as if Donald Trump was on the ballot, because he is. If you give the power back to Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters, they're going to try to impeach this president and try to prevent his very successful
Candace,
agenda.
I want to go to Florida. You know, Florida is the 1% state. Governor Rick Scott won by 1%. Trump won by 1%. Obama won when he ran against Romney, 1%. So we've got two people, Ron DeSantis and Andrew Gillum. You guys, as you crisscross the country, I mean, what do you think about this Florida race in particular, Candace?
Look, I think if you're interested in making America Venezuela, then you're going to vote for Gillum. If you're interested in preserving what Florida has become and you want to see the economy go up, then you know what the decision is. You have to vote for Ron DeSantis. I mean, it's crazy what he's talking about, making it a socialist state. And this is what's at stake, what we're talking about here, the extreme left. I mean, it's scary talk, but I think that Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott are both going to pull through, and it's going to be a major win in Florida for us.
All right. And what about that, Charlie? I mean, we all know Ron DeSantis from his work in Congress and his work in identifying some of the wrongdoing and some of the corruption at the upper echelons of the FBI and the DOJ. Why isn't that translating, or is it translating in Florida for him to become governor?
Well, remember, every single poll that Florida had, the major polls, were wrong going into 2016. The experts had Donald Trump down 3 to 6 points heading into Election Day. And look, Candace and I have made multiple stops in Florida in many different parts of the state, and there is a general consensus of support of Donald Trump, and I think they're going to come out and support Ron DeSantis and Rick Scott. Florida is a very diverse state. You have the Panhandle, where the president just was, where it's more socially conservative, and then, of course, you have the I-4 corridor, which is your kind of more stereotypical suburban voter, and then, of course, southern Florida with a lot of migrants from the Northeast. Not migrants, but people that have moved, of course, from the Northeast going to Florida. And so this is going to to be a very tight race. It's going to be focused on turnout, and I think Ron DeSantis is going to win when it comes down to the wire.
And Candace, let's talk about Gillum. I mean, you mentioned before the idea of turning Florida into Venezuela. You know, Florida, as Charlie just indicated, has a lot of people, you know, who are there retiring, and there are a lot of senior communities. I mean, people don't like the idea of the concept of socialism and taking care of everybody. You know, to them, they've worked their whole lives, and now they want to retire and not have to pay for everyone else. Whereas this guy Gillum is actually coming out and saying, you know, the police are the enemy. The police are plantation owners putting African Americans in cages.
That's correct. He's an extreme leftist. And listen, he's getting desperate. That's why he's pulling the race card suddenly, and he's accusing his opponent of racism, because he's failing ideologically to connect with the voters in Florida. So he's trying to scare them. He's trying to make them emotional, trying to use fear-based tactics, which is why in the end I don't think it's going to work. If on the ballot you have Rick Scott and Ron DeSantis, and those are going to be the two people that pull away in this race, and I have no doubt about that. I'm feeling tremendously optimistic about Florida.
Well, all right. Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, thanks so much for being with us tonight.
Thank you.